What's up, everybody? It's your boy AT2 here, bringing you another episode of Talk the Real Deal with AT2. And today is a special episode, and the reason being is because today is our town hall, Being Black. We're going to talk about race, privilege, trauma, all that. So, without further ado, let me bring on some of my guests today. First, starting out with Chris Rocks, returning for, I believe this is the third time, right?
I think so. The third time is a charm. So
Right. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Y'all excuse my sniffles. I just have some allergies in January, which is very random. But glad to be here. Thank you so much for extending the invitation, and I'm glad to see everyone too.
Yes, some allergies is no joke. Trust me.
Not whatsoever. And I have to take like 3 Zyrtex, so you know.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you make it through the show.
I will be totally fine.
Well, bringing on my next guest, all the way from the UK. Y'all love her, London girl. Welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, nice happy Saturday to everybody. I know you guys are getting up. I'm in my night dress. Well, I don't wear a night dress. It's, whatever. and a glamorous robe. And I want to echo Chris. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Yeah, right now it's like 10 something where you are, right?
It's 11 o'clock.
Oh, 11 o'clock. It's a late night show for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'm glad you're here. But
Thank you for having me.
Started before you go to bed. Don't worry. But bring it on my next guest, returning for I don't even know how many times, but y'all love her. Red Hot, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How you doing, Red Hot?
I'm good. Ready to get to talking about this. I'm going to a party tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Hopefully everybody's safe out there.
Yeah, I don't want to go really because this COVID is real and I ain't trying to catch nothing. I don't want anybody sneezing on me.
Right. Every time I see somebody sneeze or cough, I'm ready to fight them because I'm all like, don't give me that shit.
Like, coronavirus.
Right. All right, y'all. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So today we're going to be open and honest, a discussion about race. This is titled Town Hall, Being Black. We're going to talk about privilege, trauma, all that. But first, I want to start out with London Girl because I think something very important is well-being. I'm going to go ahead and let you take the floor.
Thank you, AT2. So my passion is well-being. I've got a lived experience of mental health, and mental health sort of intersects with so many different things. And so what I wanted to do, just to have a little check-in, is if everybody could put in the comment how they're feeling today on a level from 1 to 3. 3 is the highest and 1 is the lowest. So how are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 3? Just type a number in the box.
Ooh.
1 being the lowest, 3 being the highest. Put your numbers down, people. It's not bingo, but we could try that next time.
1 being the lowest and 3 being the highest, right?
Yeah, that's right. How are you all feeling? Okay, we got a 2. Okay, so that's like so. Okay, 2s are okay, I guess. 1, not so good. Okay, definitely 1. I'm so sorry. Okay, any more 2s? 3, oh, Mina, good for you. I'm really loving that you're feeling your good self today. 2s, okay, so. Oh, Keita, another 3. Fantastic. If we get the opportunity later, maybe whoever put different numbers they might want to say why they're feeling that way today. But yeah, so it's important to check in on yourself, how you're feeling at different times. So, oh my God, I feel so nervous all of a sudden. Guys. Thank you so much. So last year, after all the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement, how it impacted me, how I work in a very white space, and I'm one of maybe, I don't know, the percentage of Black people is very low. So suddenly I turned from London girl to that black woman over there. And it was quite intense because my identity kind of got lost. And what was also intense about that experience was suddenly remembering different races events and having them triggered,
Yeah.
either that had been there for me before in the workplace or childhood or whatever it was. Anyway, so I knew that it was so difficult to I work from home. I'm very lucky to work from home, but also because we're in the COVID, like get on with work. And then also because of the race issues, kind of hold your head. It was just like, what the hell happened? Who am I? So anyway, one thing I
Right.
did for my workplace was I introduced coaching for black people, not around for emotional health, because everyone is experiencing these issues at the moment differently depending on your experience, but just to support them where they were suddenly having conversations about race and having to do so much education. So that was one thing, because it's important that we realize that these the world at the moment for black people is very traumatic, and if we're
Right.
not looking after ourselves, then it can get a lot worse.
Yeah,
And so
and Freckles said it best. That black woman, we've been there.
yeah, exactly. And um the other thing that I realized that I must do was really be intentional of where my energy is, because there was so much negativity. I had to have difficult conversations with friends or block people because I was just like, oh no, what, how? And I was, I was looking for peace in black voices, but also allies. And it was
Yeah.
shocking to me to find that there were some allies who I thought were allies previously, but it was just like, oh, so when you say to me you want to help me in any way, you don't really mean it? Because when I've asked you to then help me in this way, you're still playing this little game. So, okay, I'm going to move past you because you're not going to stop me from whatever I'm doing anyway. So I realized that I couldn't kind of carry on feeling so raw. Do you know what I mean? I just couldn't feel so raw and do my job. So at the end of this year, I started counseling. Sorry, at the end of last year, I started counseling because it was just like, this is too much. All the events of last year have really triggered me. And
Right.
with the combination of the coaching and the counseling, I feel that I'm wrapped a little bit more tightly because I have that support. Without that support, because I know that support is really difficult to get, support is very trigmatized because it's emotional health. Why do I need help? And it's just like, well, if you broke your leg, would you just sit there with a broken leg? Because it's the same thing but a different part of your body. So the thing that I found most important before I was getting the external support was how I was looking after myself. Was I being kind to myself? Was I putting as much effort to myself as I was all the great causes or things that I was involved in? And I realized I wasn't. And there were kind of questions I had to ask myself about, why am I not good enough to look after? With all this care and kindness you give to other people, why can't you do that for yourself? And then I
Right.
started doing it for myself. And honestly, self-care is so relative to who you are and how you move in your world. So for me, self-care is doing the washing up. Do you know what I mean? That is an act of self-care, to wash up. It's an act of self-care to make my bed. It's an act of self-care, whatever it is for you. And just being able to expand on those things, acknowledge that I've been able to do them, because each day of this life, crazy life we're living in now, is so different emotionally and environmentally. So the other thing that's really important, and I found it through the pandemic, is community. And for me, community somehow has been YouTube. Honestly, how did that happen? Where
Right.
before the pandemic, I never looked at YouTube. What are you talking about? All right, I'll look up a few songs I'm interested in, maybe learn a dance. But now I'm just down this kind of rabbit hole. But even with YouTube, you can allow some negative stuff in. So I'm still on this journey of, and I thank you again for this space. I'm still
Yeah.
on this journey of kind of, finding voices which are positive, finding places which support my well-being. And that's so important because, just look at the events in the Capitol. They're finding that these people, a lot of them were just so, what's the word, cultish-like, indoctrinated on social media. And it's literally like a switch. And so we all must be really mindful of what we're bringing into our lives. The other thing is kindness, compassion, and empathy. And that is particularly important for ourselves. So we have to be really gentle with ourselves at the moment, and when we know better, we do better, right? So I know that, I shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. I can't even say it on YouTube. It's a bit naughty. I smoke. And so,
Oh, that ain't bad. Is that bad? Can you not say you smoke on YouTube? I ain't mad.
No, I mean, I know better, but I'm not doing better. So I feel a bit of a hypocrite,
Yeah.
but I've got a little plan. I'm trying
if
to
it
give
ain't
it
crack,
up.
don't worry about it,
So all I mean is with that, rather than have a dialogue about how bad I am, it's just acknowledging, okay, you felt the need to smoke, okay, be mindful of it and move on. So when I say be gentle with ourselves, the dialogue that we can have, with ourselves can be as equally as traumatizing as what we're getting from externally. So it's really important that we're gentle with ourselves, we're kind with ourselves, and we're really compassionate with ourselves, because a lot of us, I'm sure, share similar stories of trauma, which contributes to our well-being and our emotional health. So it's important that we allow ourselves to say, hey, I'm a badass.
Yeah.
I'm a badass. And to keep those mantras. And then to I know in England it's pretty bad. We're locked up, and I live in a city. I live in urban city, so I don't have a lot of places I go, and I have this fear in London because suddenly my friends under 35, I have six of them with COVID, and it happened between Christmas and January. So it's really that 1 in 3 people you're running into in London, or sorry, 1 in 30 has COVID, which has gone, which has really sped up this year. So there's kind of a fear and a kind of apprehension, I guess, and anxiety. So it's important that we act courageously with ourselves to counter these fears, and courageous is courageous can be just leaving your house. At this moment, leaving your house and going to the shop. Courageous could be cooking yourself a really beautiful dinner. But everything to keep our vibrations high. I'm kind of rambling now because I came on feeling so nervous.
Yeah, you were definitely Well, let me back it up a little bit. Question for you. What was really the final straw where you're all like, okay, I need to go seek therapy or make a change in my life? Like, what was really the final straw? Was it because the year was ending, or did a certain particular event happen? You're like, okay, that's it.
I mean, my work was doing me dirty, I felt at the time. And that was traumatic, knowing that, oh, you support race, but actually I am a black person and I can't see much support. So that kind of pushed me over the edge. And also just the realization that, trauma shows up in lots of different ways. And my gift, my love language is generosity. But unfortunately, that means that I have acquired so much stuff, and not not necessarily giving it away, or thinking, oh, so and so would really like that, let me buy it for them, and then okay, well, now it's on my shelf not doing anything. So the point of that is it made me realize that there was a point in my life where I'm stuck. There's a point in my life where I need to break through something, and I need support with that something. Otherwise I would have been able to do it already, if that makes sense.
Right. And I kind of want to go around the room. I'm gonna start out with Red Hot first. Has there been anything within the last year? No, 2020 was hard for everyone, but there was a lot going on. As London Girl mentioned with the George Floyd, it kind of started like this worldwide attention on everything from the workplace, and then, quote unquote, thinking like you had an ally, but really that person wasn't down with you. And it was kind of like they took a step back and almost made you feel like you should be guilty for calling out racism or BS,
Mm-hmm. I haven't had anything like that. As far as trauma, I was just going through. I was losing a lot of family members last year. Through different things, and prior to that, my mother and I, the town that we're in now is racist. Like they're really, really racist here. Like they got the Confederate flag in their yard, racist.
Okay, so it's up front in your face. It's not hidden.
Right. So we was at the store one day and we was in the freezer area, and my mom, it was a white guy standing right there at the freezer. She wanted to get in there. So he stood there and didn't move, and she walked around him. And I stopped her. I said, no, ma'am. I said, come back over here. You're not going to do that. I said, because he don't own this store. I said, he's going to walk away. You're not going to do that. You're not beneath him. And he looked at me and he walked away. But see, I was saying more than that. I was cursing, acting crazy up in there. But he moved out the way. And I was like, you don't own that store. I don't know. I said, don't you ever in your life do that no more. You giving them the power. I don't care who they are, because at the end of the day, when we die, our grave gonna be the same size. When we go in the hospital, we have to have the same IV. We got the same blood. Everybody's human. So what make you better than us? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to treat me as if I got to bow down to you because of your skin color. That's never going to happen, ever. If you want me to respect you, you're going to respect me.
It seemed to happen in the grocery store a lot too, because there's an instance where like this white woman had like completely like reached over me, instead of saying like, hey, excuse me, oh, can I get by you? Like she completely like just reached over me, and I was like, whoa, like what's up? Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like things like you see us, but you don't see us, and that's probably how you felt in that moment, besides a few other things.
I mean, but it's a little petty stuff. Like I used to be a cashier years ago, and they come in there, throw their money on the thing, they'll throw their money down, and so when I give you your change, you want to have your hand out. So what I did, I put your money right back down there and put hand sanitizer on my hand and turn my back. I'm serious, like, because you're not I have children. My children is not about to grow up thinking that a certain type of color is superior to them. They're not superior to nobody. And the fact that I have a black son, I have to be extra hard on him, because one thing I don't want him to do is to fall in this system and let these white people to try to, I'm sorry, no disrespect, but try to control him, because that's what it is. And this is a black man I'm raising. So I'm going to be tough on him so he can be prepared for the world when he's to that age to do that.
Right. He has to be, because it's some places where you feel like, oh well, I don't have to look at race and I don't have to think about it, but you really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do.
Chris, before I ask you the next question, I'm gonna go ahead and add on Carpe Diem with Devron for a minute. What's up? Did it add you? Oh, my internet. Hold on. There we go. You there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Welcome to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, because this is your first time on the show.
It is. How y'all doing? I am dealing with Devron. I'm always in the comment section.
Right. Thank you for joining the show. I'm going to go ahead and move on with Chris. Chris, I want to ask you, because, we talked about a little bit before the show started about being Black and being the only one in those spaces. So I know you probably experienced where somebody seen you, but they didn't see you. And it was like almost you were like invincible.
So I'm going to take the story all the way back because I think there was a point where like I didn't even see it. My parents, my family in general, we don't like, we don't talk about stuff. We like keep it moving. That's I'm trying to change that. I think like my cousins and siblings that are my age, we're working on that. But historically speaking, generationally speaking, we do not talk about like topics that are difficult. So growing up, I was like, my elementary school that I went to, my sister and I, and then one other kid were the only Black kids in school. And I don't remember, I mean, elementary was fun. Like, you know, it was just elementary school. But generally speaking, like as I went through school, that was kind of the case. Like there weren't, by the time I got to high school, there were more Black kids, but only enough for like table, you know?
Right.
And I remember by the time that, you know, if we take it a little bit further, when I was like in college.
Right, Laura.
Or when sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm saying right, Laura.
Yeah.
If we take it back a little bit, and I think at this time I was like, I think I was in grad school actually, and I was the only Black kid in my cohort. And I remember that we would have these, like, people would say really like shady stuff to me. And I remember telling like one girl that I thought was my friend, I was like, you know, I think they make those comments because I'm the only Black person. Fast forward 2 weeks, I had no friends, right? I went through the entire experience of being in grad school. And I think that's like that, like in any post-grad program, there are not that many Black people. So you end up being isolated and alone, and a bit like gaslit, because so now I'm going to fast forward to like post George Floyd and seeing all of those people posting like Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, this is very performative, because I know, like, I'm not even going to get into like the specifics, but like, I'm not crazy. Like these are like incidents that like I can bring receipts and tell you. It's not like, oh, I had healing. And so you walk through life and you're kind of, you know, like gaslit. You learn how to just exist within yourself, right? And I remember when Trayvon Martin happened at work.
Yeah, me too.
This was years ago, remember? And people like Black Lives Matter. And I remember in like my senior manager at the time coming in, and he was spewing some bullshit, like some stuff to me that like I don't even live in a world where people talk about that, like say those ugly thoughts out loud. You know, it's like if you feel something like really disgusting within yourself, like you'll just like keep it quiet or whatever. So he comes into like the room that we were working in that day, and he's saying whatever. And I thought that people would be like, shut up, you know, how dare you? Nobody said a word. And I just like got up and walked out. And I think so I've had many experiences like that. Back to, it got to the point, and I know like London Girl was kind of talking about the end of, you know, when she sought therapy. So around that point in time, I was young too, and, you know, all this other kind of stuff. I just quit, you know, I quit, and I was like, this is not for me, blah, blah, blah. Ended up, you know, getting another opportunity and moving, and then having like almost like a breakdown that forced me into therapy 3 years up till now, you know.
Wow.
And I mean, looking back on it, I wouldn't change that for anything. And the only thing I wanted to kind of add as we're like moving further in this conversation is what PTSD actually is. So there's this book called The Body Keeps a Score, really great read, and it's pretty simple too. But pretty much we all as adults, we understand that if there's, you know, if I'm like a 18-year-old and I go to Afghanistan and someone, you know, and I'm like sleeping with like bombs, and, you know, I end up coming home dismembered and injured, we understand the traumatic impact that would have on like an adult if that happened. But a lot of times for children, you know, your mom leaving in the middle of the night and you waking up and she's not there, that's equally as traumatizing. So this trauma that occurred at a very young age, and because children are powerless, you're living that trauma, you know, over and over and over again. And your mom's not going to come home and be like, oh, baby, I'm poor, so I have to go like work at night. Like, you don't know what's going on. So we form these like defense mechanisms and coping mechanisms and these stories that we tell ourselves over and over and over again. So by the time that you get to your adulthood and you're layering in your adult experiences and like racial experiences and all this kind of stuff, and then, you know, Black people were not allowed to process our trauma. Like once you talk about it, someone's like, I'm not a racist, you know? And
right.
quiet, right? Like a lot of times
their automatic defense mechanism. Exactly. I'm not a racist.
Yeah, can I say something? Right, I just want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so kids, when you're little, you don't know nothing about hate or anything. Kids are born to love. They're taught to hate. And that's what a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. They're teaching their children how to hate the next person when they don't even know nothing about it. They don't look at skin color. If they see you, they're going to like you regardless. It starts like at home. You're taught to hate somebody. And that's what comes. That's like, I don't like that. I don't condone that. I teach my children to love and respect everybody.
And I remember, like, when I was a kid, I didn't even know, like, even when I was talking about, like, elementary school, I knew my sister and I were, like, only Black kids, like, based on, like, if I drew a picture, like, clear would be brown. But that's all I knew. Like, as a kid, I just knew that, like, okay, we look a little bit different. And that was, I feel like that's how kids see things. When my nephew was really young, like he would literally call like Black people brown, like he like that brown guy over there.
Right, that's what they see. They don't see Black. You see, we're brown technically. You know what I mean? And I was just thinking too, like, did your Chris, did your parents ever like really have like a conversation about race? Because I don't remember, like, we would talk about it, but we didn't really like sit down and be like, okay, this is A, B, C, and D, and it was more like a race towards like how you should maneuver in the world to get by
now
in life.
Older, I mean, there's a lot of stuff my parents wouldn't talk about, and I think they were attempting to like protect me from something that they felt like I shouldn't be feeling. I lived a very Black life. Like, it's not like my parents were like forcing me to like do other things. Like, it's just, they never talked about it. I think they tried to like, it was just normal, I guess, but we never had conversations about race until I remember in 2008 when Obama was getting elected, and this was like he hadn't been elected yet. This was like, I even think this was during primaries, I'm not sure. And I was interning somewhere, and a guy that was significantly older than me came up to me and was like, I know you're voting for Obama. That's what all of y'all do. And I was, and he had to have been like in his 30s. And I'm thinking like, I didn't even know what was happening,
Like, what is he talking about,
I mean, my parents were very like, don't talk to me about anything, go study, that's just kind of, but we can get into like that, at a later point. So.
Yeah, and Devin, what I want to ask you is, because I always get flack for this because I said it incorrectly before, and this is when I did audio podcasts, but I said that my parents taught me to be white to get ahead in life, and that's not what I meant. I actually meant like you're taught as a Black person to assimilate into white culture to make it, but not necessarily be white. I worded it wrong. So I wanted to ask you about how you were raised. Was that similar to you, or your parents didn't talk about that at all?
You would have thought that we had this conversation before, because that was actually my situation too.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm like, bro, you doing a little too much snooping in my business. But yeah, so I wouldn't say they necessarily told me to be white. They just told me, you have to act a certain way. So, like the way I'm talking now, I didn't always talk like this. I had to learn to, to use their vernacular, to speak properly how they would like. Like, even when you go into a job, you have to, abide by their type of rules.
Right.
Code switch. So, yeah, it was stuff like that. So it was just like, my mom, she would tell me these things, but behind closed doors, you're like, they watching, so you got to act like this, and just don't take offense to everything. But nowadays, like, it's hard not to, because when you're older, you actually see, you see everything, and you like, bro, you being racist. But then people come at you like you the problem. Like, no, he said something wrong. Like, he's the problem, not me. I didn't say that. Like it,
Exactly.
like even when it comes to like stuff like cartoons, like we notice black people, we notice blackface.
Mm-hmm.
But if we say something about blackface, it's why do you guys always have to bring color into it?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't bringing color. That's what it is. Dragon Ball Z, Mr. Popo, that was a caricature of blackface, and they was trying to tell me like
that really was,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, bro, I pulled up so many pictures of blackface and the mammies and people from back then, and I was like, bro, that's what this is. They were trying to tell me that the Asian people didn't know. That's BS, man, because everybody knew, especially around that time when that came out, everybody knew what was okay and what wasn't okay. So they just did it anyway. And I just thought it was effed up. But yeah, that's just how it always was.
Yeah, you know what? It brings me up something that I wanted to ask London Girl. Because as far as like Black culture and like what they teach you, is that like something that they teach you when you take like your history classes and stuff like that, or was it something that you had to seek out after you got out of school? Because they basically here in America teach us like the basics, and then we have to discover everything about Black people outside of school.
It's the same for Black people all over the world, I believe. That there is it's almost like a censor on education. So that's why it was incredibly traumatic to go through a summer of educating white people. It's like, well, know that in here this was built on slavery, so why am I telling you this now? So there's a really, really big denial over history. And until people accept history, they don't get to be in a position of knowledge, if that makes sense. So that's why people in England, people were so surprised about, why are you reacting to what's going on in America? And it's just like, it's happening here. It's happening here. It just doesn't get the same amount of attention. But I can tell you it's happening here.
Because over there, they don't think that there's any racism. I know this from talking to my vocal coach.
Yeah, there is no racism, and what do you mean? So in answer to your question, then no, there is it isn't taught in schools in the way that it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to seek it out, and you have to have people around you in the community who can educate you, basically.
Right. I agree about that, definitely. And with you, Red Hot, in the area that you're in, have you always lived in that certain, you don't have to say the city, but have you always lived in that certain city or that certain state and it's always been like this? Or was it kind of like a culture shock, like, man, there's still people that are ignorant like this?
Well, I mean, I've always been in this state, but as far as everything else, especially what they teach you in school, I don't believe what people tell me. I've always been the type of person that I do my own research regardless, because what they tell you is not going to be the truth. They're doing all this to cover up a lot of stuff, because what people do not know, all Black people was not slaves. We had some doctors. We had people to go to Harvard. We had a lot of queens. It's a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of stuff that people cover up with the slavery. So some like older Black people, they have the mentality of the slavery. So it's kind of hard to tell them. They didn't have stuff to research back then. You know what I'm saying? So now it's I like to research, and I tell my children, I said, don't be disrespectful to your teacher. Learn or whatever so you can get your grades. I said, but when you come home, you do your own research. Don't believe nothing nobody tell you. Find your truth yourself. That's the only way you're going to find the truth. You have to do that yourself. You can't listen to what people say. So it always been like that. I just haven't been the type that's just going to listen to what people tell me. I'm going to research myself.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's very important. And with you, Chris, was it a thing where, like, when it came to Black history, that was something that was really like focused on, or was it just talked about in the month of February for Black History Month?
At school, it was only talked about.
Thank you.
I lived I lived so first of all, let me backtrack and say, like, my parents, their, stuff that they would take me to other friends' houses, it was just, I never felt like being Black was different. Like, to me, it was almost normal. it was just like things would happen to me like at school, like, oh, okay, did y'all watch Martin last night? And everyone's like, I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? So there are things that I know, like culturally, like we did not have the same experiences and stuff, but my parents never, I guess they never sat me down and were like, you know, you're Black, this is what it's like this is Black history, so on and so forth. But I mean, I remember very, like my dad being like, oh, he reads the autobiography of Malcolm X every year. You know what I mean? So like, I know that there are things that were normal, but then there are also things that were like not really discussed. And I think my parents were very big on what we term now like Black exceptionalism. So you have to be really smart. You have to, you know, just go above and beyond to.
Do you have Nigerian parents?
I do. Yes.
Okay, because Faye had said something and I skipped over a comment, but I didn't get a chance to ask you.
I with her in the comments because my parents like, you're sad. What? You better go study. Like there's no
yeah.
Oh, anything that has to do with your feelings or not
Yeah.
to do with your feelings. Like there's a book to read and there's
oh my god.
Yeah.
Is that how it was for you, London girl?
No, I mean, I'm not of Nigerian heritage, but I listened to this podcast called, it's like a working girls podcast, and they had a town hall, and some of them were African descent, and they got to well-being, and all of them had, you know, experiences of mental health issues and emotional health issues, and all their parents were just like, you know, what are you talking about? Just, you know, get up. There's nothing wrong with you. Get up and go back to work because we had to do it. We had to just get on with things. You think we could take time out to look after ourselves like that? No. Get up.
And to take it like a step back,
Right.
my parents survived a civil war, right? And so you can go back, if you go back and read like longitudinal studies about like people that survive wars and are not exterminated, how do they navigate society?
Yes, I will, Shyla.
Oh, sorry.
She asked me if I was going to open the floor for people to ask questions later. I said, yes, I will.
So, yeah, I was just saying, usually when you have like the survivors of a genocide, right, they're not going to be the most like emotional and trauma informed people. They're just going to figure out like, how do I go? Where can I find a community but hide my community in plain sight? That's why you start going into like, why do you have like a Chinatown, or like, why do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's a kind of a different topic. But no, my parents were like, go and read your book. You like boys? What boys? Go study.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny because it would be the same, I think, for the Black diaspora, because I would say like there was a situation where I told my dad like, oh, this kid called me the N-word. He was like, really? He was all like, well, did you smack him? Did you fight him? And I was like, no, I didn't know what to do, because I was in shock that, you know, because when you think of civil rights, you know, they put it in black and white, even though they did have color pictures. So when I was in the 6th grade and a kid called me that word, I was thinking that, oh, this is like old and like people don't really talk like that. But it's all like, no, there's people that still really talk like that. And like when you're called that word, it takes you, when you're young, like now if I see it on the internet somewhere, I'm gonna be like, oh, F you, you know, whatever. But like when you're a child and somebody calls you that word, it really like, whoa.
Well, those pictures are black and white. So your average person, back to what we're saying, like, what do you learn in school, right? If you see black and white pictures that's barely talked about in your history class, you feel like this happened, you know, in the 1900s, right? So like they don't colorize those pictures because you understand that it's relatively recent history, right? But my dog. Come on, buddy.
Oh.
Yeah, all facts, Chris. Yeah. All facts.
Yeah, and Devin, for you, have you ever been called the N-word as a child before?
I'm gonna be honest. I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, went to predominantly black school. So I like college is the only time I actually came across too many. Like I can count on one hand how many white people was in my high school and middle school and stuff. But it wasn't until I got to college that Actually, I went to HBCU, so it wasn't that many there either. So it's like I personally have not been called that. I don't know how I would react if I were to be called that. I don't see myself taking it very kindly at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's not something. I don't tolerate disrespect. I ain't gonna call you. Matter of fact, it's a thing though, because when I will say we'll go back to coworkers where the white kids would say it, and then I would tell them like, you can't say that to me. You know, I mean, I probably didn't say it as nicely, but I mean, I was basically just telling them like that's not cool and stuff. But they was like, well, why do y'all get to say it? What does it matter? So my thing is, do I call you out your name? Have I ever called you, you know, any of the derogatory terms for a white person? So why would you think that would be okay for you? Just call me that, because they call each other that all the time. But I never called them that. I never spoke that on you. So why would you think it's okay to say that to me?
Right. And it's weird because I'm a firm believer, like, y'all can call each other whatever you want to call, but don't even call me that in a joking way, because there's going to be one day where you say it and you're going to mean it another way, you know, like in a hateful way. It's not going to be playful. So I don't even want to start it to where it sounds playful. I don't even want to, you know, go in that kind of territory with you, because it's going to be one day when you say it and it's not going to be playful and you're going to mean that with your chest. So I definitely agree with you when it comes to that.
So when, especially like when, say that you had a white friends, and, you know, because I know a lot of black people with white friends, they let them call them that. But what happens when you allow them to say that when you're around your black family? What's going to happen to them then? You can't protect them for what's going to happen to them for saying that. It's actually your fault that you didn't educate them on what to say and what not to say, what's okay and what's not okay.
Take that off. I spelled that wrong.
Huh?
Oh,
my bad. I corrected
it. Well, Red Hot, I was gonna go to you next anyway. No, it's fine. I was gonna ask you, with raising children during like this time period, like, what do you like? Have you actually had like a talk with them? Because you have not old kids, but your kids are in their teens. So, like, have you had to have these conversations with them and like really break things down for them?
Yes, I always have talks with them. I have to, because now, like, they're getting older. My daughter's about to be 16 this year. So, you know, I start talking to them when they can really comprehend right from wrong. And I start talking to them then about everything. And like I always tell them, my thing is this. If you got to be around somebody, especially if they're white, and they call you out your name, you don't need to be around that person. Also, you can't react to whatever people call you, because it don't hurt you. People going to say, people are ignorant. They're going to say what they want anyway, regardless. So now, if you put your hand on me, you defend yourself at all costs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, because like, you know, people are ignorant. Some people just do it just for the. So if you know, I'll feel some type of way, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm like, that's not my name on my birth certificate, boo. So like, you're not hurting my feelings with that,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Now we're in a heated argument and you calling me something like that, you know, I just come back with it, because, you know, I like to roast people. So I would say something dirty, you know, and make them mad. So, but for my children, I have this talk with them all the time. I'm like, look, show respect always. Never disrespect nobody. If you feel when your back is against the wall, you defend yourself. Period. I don't care who it is. If y'all together, y'all need to defend each other. Regardless, y'all need to sit together, because everybody else, you don't even know what a friend is right now. You know, y'all young, y'all growing. Stick together, defend yourself, and respect everybody. Not the color of their skin. You need to respect people, because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Right. Definitely. I agree with that. And London Girl, I wanted to ask you, because Endeavoring, you brought it up, a very good thing about having those friends and being able to educate them. Because London Girl, I know you said you hit like a roadblock when it came to like certain people that you thought would be an ally and they weren't. Was there anyone you were able to have a conversation with and like turn it around, or is there just people, or all those people you just had to let go because they're bad for your health, you know?
Well, some are on pause. Do you know what I mean? Because during this time last summer, I was really active in creating change in my workplace, really active. And also that, suddenly it was talk to a Black person kind of thing. We had all these listening sessions. So I didn't want to be in a space that wasn't positive. And if you weren't posting in support, or if you weren't checking in on me, then, I didn't need to deal with them at that time. And also, I was in such a state of anger. I didn't want to have a conversation where I couldn't have a dialogue,
A
because
lot
there
of people
was,
got deleted and blocked. I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
well, I just, I believe in the potential of all human beings for change, whatever that journey is. I don't need to be with them for their change. But so I have that belief, because it's important that people can go through a state of transformation, but that wasn't my lane at the time. Do you know what I mean? I don't have time for that shit. I'm trying to sort out this. I'm trying to, protect that person. So they're on hold, and I'll go back to them, because the most important thing at that time was me, and do I feel okay?
Right. I appreciate that. My cousin said, no cap, I can only respect my people when I watch Roots. It put me off white people. I've never actually seen Roots before, but it's funny because I want to bring this up. I hate watching slave movies. My favorite slave movie is
Right.
Django, and that's because it wasn't real. That's why I like that movie, and it was different. But I do not like watching slave movies. So I'm going to go around the table real quick, and you can tell me yes or no. Chris, do you watch slave movies? Your mic.
Sorry. No, because Black history is so much more than slavery. I don't like to see, I don't like to watch any Black movie where the Black person takes a defeatist position based on the color of their skin. That's just me. I do not care if it's like in modern day or whatever.
In general.
Huh?
Just in general, you don't like that. Okay.
Solely based on the character's skin, they're going to be all like, a nanny to someone, or can't do it. So that's just...
I don't like that. Yeah. Like, I've never finished watching The Help. Like, I watched part of it, but it just made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it.
Even that, what was that other movie where it was like the Black kid got adopted by a white family and he was a football player?
Oh yeah, the
All American. All American, I think.
No, it wasn't.
No, the Hurt Locker. No,
I can't hear you, Dev. I think you're saying it, but I can't hear you.
What you say, Dev?
I think yes, that's it. I can't. I'm sure it's a great story. Maybe it touched somebody, but that's like, I just don't watch movies like that personally. Yeah.
I'm be honest, I don't remember too much about it. It wasn't really a racial type movie, if I remember.
No,
I mean, it
was white savior.
White savior.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, London Girl? I'm sorry.
So I was just saying it was white savior. So I remember watching Roots on TV as a child, and bear in mind that was my probably my first time seeing Black people that weren't in music, weren't in anything on TV, because I'm a lot older than you all. And so if you can imagine, it's like Chris is saying, the exposure of Black people on TV at that time was so negative. If they weren't in sports, if they weren't if they weren't singing and dancing, then it was Roots. And so to just have that portrayal as a child is very negative. So I've only remembered now that I watched it as a child.
Oh wow! And so, are you a fan at all of any slave movies, or you don't watch them at all?
Is that a thing? Being a fan of slave movies?
Well,
because that would be a no, ATP. That would be a big no with an F in front of it.
The way I asked that question, I asked for that. My bad.
No, I mean,
do you watch
positivity and comedy are my things. Positivity and comedy. Sorry, Red Hot.
It's okay. Red Hot, do you watch slave movies or no?
Yes, I watch it and I show my children. I want them to see what they're trying to portray all Black people to be. And that's not how I want them to be. So you have to watch what happened in the past so you can be better, because that's not what all Black people is about. So I want them to see that. If I don't teach them at home and then they go somewhere else like to college and then they see that movie, they're going to think like, well, that's what we do. Like, no, you're going to be better than that. Because they always putting us in a bad space, like we're some horrible people. And a lot of white people learned a lot from Black people. Like, it's a lot of Black creators back there. So yeah, I show them all the time. I want them to see. I said, this is what they're trying to make us look like.
But Red Hot, can I just say, because it's like you can learn your history through books as well. I just feel sometimes images of us in such a negative light can be quite damaging. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I've been reading a lot of badass women in slavery who freed people. So I like to learn my history, like you said, about everything that was happening at that time, because it wasn't just slavery. And there were some really inspiring, people who freed slaves, who aren't just the names that we all know. So I really love that aspect of learning history.
Yeah, but with my kids, like, I don't sugarcoat with my children about anything. Like, I'm straight, like, I'm raw with it. I'm straightforward with my children because I want them to know the real facts. I'm not going to tell them, like, well, it was this when I know it was one way. Just like I told them about my past. I told them what happened to me when I, as I told you, when I found out that I had cancer, that was the hardest thing in my life I had to say to my children. Because at that time I was going through a divorce. It was just a lot of stuff I was going through and I wanted to take my life. So I had to tell my children about that, to sit and look at my children and to say, mommy can't do the same stuff she used to do no more because mommy got to take this and she got to go get treatment. And when they see me in bed, so I'm like, ever since then, I'm just real with my children. I cannot, I just like to be straight honest, whether, it's going to hurt them, it's going to help them in the long run. So I prefer to be honest with them. As far as the Black background, also, with just, I want them to see what's going on because all Black people are not bad people whatsoever. It's a lot of, all of us have great things about us. All of us are great. So I want them to be great. I want them to strive. I want them to go forward, not thinking that this is how you're supposed to do. You don't go to school to work for somebody else. Go to school to be your own boss. That's what I want you to do.
Right. And definitely representation matters. Dev, I'm gonna move on to you. Regarding if you watch, I don't want to say a fan, if you watch
the only ones that I really watch are like historical ones or biographies. So like
biographies,
like the Jesse Owens one, I watch those, but just in general, I don't. But I do have a question for everybody because I've been feeling like lately I've been feeling real pro-Black lately, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I've been taking offense to everything lately. So I just want to know, like the new movie on Disney, Soul. How did y'all feel about that? Because I kind of had a problem with it.
I never seen that.
You haven't seen it yet?
I didn't watch it.
No.
I actually heard it was good though. Chris, did you watch it?
No, when I tell you I know nothing about, not nothing, but like I don't, like I've been out of the loop for like movies and stuff.
Right.
Gotcha.
I still watch stuff I grew up on. I be watching Webster and stuff. I don't be watching
And what about you, London Girl? Did you watch it?
No, didn't watch it, but I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Red Hot as a survivor.
Yes.
She is. I like that. My mom is too. But so, go ahead.
It's a journey. I've been having a little complications, so I have to get tested again because it's been a little rough. So hopefully it comes back next year.
Yes, and we're definitely going to be praying for you.
That's why I be so goofy a lot. This is why, like, I crack jokes because there's so much I go through, and the fact that this is stressful. I mean, I talk to you about this, At. So it's stress. So when I'm naturally funny. I like to do stuff to take my mind off because if I don't, my mind gonna go back to when I first found out I was sick, and then it's gonna be miserable for my children. My children are older, so I have to handle it in a different way. So that's why I'm like I am now. I'm crazy.
I understand. My mom was like, actually, that's the reason why I became a massage therapist. Was she also had breast cancer.
Oh,
so
wow.
when she came from chemo, she would always want to be, massaged and everything. So I just went ahead and went to school for it. So I definitely understand what you're going through, and I'm glad that she's still here. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I am. Thank God, because I actually wanted to take my life. Like I really wanted to take my life when I first found out. And so my children saved my life.
That thought, Red Hot, because I do want to talk about mental health as far as something, but Deb, I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish, and then I'm gonna come back to Red Hot. But the movie Soul, I think it was about the cat thing, right? Go ahead.
Well, it's about it's about this jazz musician dude, and he dies, and so you know how Disney is. It was a good movie, but it was the fact of, like you said, representation. Because not even 15 minutes into the movie, we see this black guy, he dies. And you don't see him as a black guy, you see him as a soul, like a spirit. So I was just thinking about a lot of Disney movies or a lot of cartoons is we're never just black people, we're animals, we're something else. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said, like, maybe I'm the problem that I saw a problem with this. The movie was good. It was just that fact. Like, bro, 15 minutes in and he's not black no more. I mean, he eventually turned back black, but it still bothered me that the main character is
Princess and the Frog.
Like why do we have to be animals? Like, why can't we just have a straight up movie about us?
But I am an animal.
Oh, sorry.
I am an animal. I'm a
tiger.
Okay. Oh, you say you're a tiger?
Yes, I'm a lion. I want to fight.
Oh, right. So Carpe, did you not know that was a thing for black people in movies? Because all I remember in Undercover Brother where Dave Chappelle played that conspiracy brother. And every question he got asked, he would kind of go on a mini rant, and he said he literally said it. And this was like 15 years ago. He goes, "What? So I'm going to be in a movie, am I? What? So I can die within 10 minutes? What? Right. Yeah, like all the black people do." And I was just like, that's why I like documentaries. Do you know what I mean? Because most times, we are put, unless it's a black cast and crew, unless it's a black writer. And even then it can be problematic, but that's why, like you say, 82. Oh, what's your name? Sorry. But that's why, jokes aside, that's why representation is so important. If we're not at the table, then we're not making those choices. Those choices aren't being made on our behalf.
Right. And I just wanted to bring up the pictures, and shout out to you, London Girl, because you did mention the Vogue editor, British Vogue, is a black man, and you can tell like the representation on his photos compared to our vice president, Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. There's a night and day difference between the representation and everything like that,
Yeah, absolutely. Representation at every level is so important, but there's so much systemic racism to change.
Right. That's true. And London Girl, what I want to do before I move to Red Hot, because you were talking about your well-being and everything like that. Like, is there things that trigger you, or are you how to deal with certain situations that you're put in when it comes to any kind of microaggression or ignorance?
Yeah, I think it depends on the context. So for me, it's having an awareness of what microaggressions are, because we accept them so much because they happen so often. And then, that can lead to being triggered, because suddenly you're in the doctor's office and this is my experience. I was having a breast exam and I was really worried about, whether I had a lump. And he was just like, well, I do think you just need to moisturize a little bit more. And I was just like, what? Can you not see I'm black? Do you not think I know about moisturizing? F are you talking about? And that was in a doctor's surgery with a white doctor. So I was like, I know my experience would have been really different with somebody a black doctor.
Right.
So in terms of triggers, at the moment there's a lot, because now I know I cannot unsee. All the last 6 months brought my awareness to the surface. So in terms of triggers, or in terms of how I deal with it, working from home is a joy because I'm not around so many microaggressions. Do you know what I mean? They happen on such a tiny scale now. So that's a benefit. And then being really boundaried. You have to boundary yourself if you're really serious about your mental health and keeping on a high vibe. You have to take care of yourself. You have to boundary yourself. So you're not consciously putting yourself in spaces which are going to do you more harm. You have to have some kind of foundation in your life, whether it's reading books, listening to music, meditating, just these things that slowly work to and contribute to our healing.
Right, I agree. And Red Hot, I was gonna ask you, and I'm glad Laura brought this up. And definitely London Girl, when you said the doctor told you need to moisturize more. With your experience going through what you went through, did you feel that the doctors were really looking out for you and they really paid attention to you, or did you hit roadblocks where they would be like, "No, you're all right, you're fine," or not take into consideration your pain?
No, they were great to me because of where it was. It was in my stomach, and they trust me. They was on me because they kept calling me stubborn, which I am. Like everybody tell me that. So it was more them fussing at me and stuff, telling me to, But they gave me. I just felt at the time. I felt like they was trying to. I said, y'all trying to kill me. Y'all don't want me to eat. I can't eat citrus. Like I can't have ketchup. I can't eat. No, I can't drink no juice. I can't really have sugar. I can't eat salt. It's a lot of stuff I can't eat because, with it being in my stomach, I was at stage 2. So if it had got to stage 4, I would have passed. So they, even now I spit up blood. Like sometimes I be up at night and I spit up blood when I cough. So I call my doctor. And they be fussing at me, but see, it's kind of hard because sometimes I can go days without eating anything and I still have acid reflux so bad. And what people don't understand is acid reflux is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. After so many years of it, the acid will eat the lining of your stomach, and that's how I got it. And I didn't know that because at the time I was always eating a bunch of hot stuff. I was drinking a lot of sodas, stressed out about a lot of stuff. And so I overlooked it until I had to have surgery, and they told me I had H. pylori. And I was like, I thought she was going to say you got HIV. She was like, you got H. pylori. And I said, well, what is that? And they said, well, you got to just look it up and you'll see. They said, we got to treat you for it before you can have surgery. So when I looked it up, it's an infection that causes ulcers in your stomach. And acid reflux, and over a period of time, if the acid will eat the lining of your stomach and will cause you stomach cancer. So when I took the medicine, my dumb self, I thought I was fine after I got through the medicine. I didn't know I had to keep taking it, so I had stopped. And so when I found out I was sick, I kept blaming myself. Like I was in a headspace, like I said, so I got sick. I said, it's my fault. I said I should have been taking the medicine, and it was like, no. They wanted me to go to support groups. I refused to do it. They was trying to get me to do it, but I refused because I didn't want to accept the fact. I didn't tell my family until 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
The first night I found out, the first night after I found out, I had a bunch of pills I wanted to take. I wanted to end my life that night, but my children flashed in my head and I didn't do it. I cried, I prayed. And so after that, it made me look at life different. It made me look at people in my life different, like the negativity, because during my whole time I was sick, I went through this by myself. Like I was alone. So it really makes me, like when people come in my life, I'm protective. I'm crazy. So I like to protect them, and I'm loyal as I don't know what, I'm just appreciative of life because I actually did what they told me. I stopped breathing. I don't know, because they did a procedure on me that was very dangerous. They didn't want to do it, but I told them to do it. And so it's just a process, and now I still have to. I can't get too stressed out. It's just I'm tired of being like that. Like I told them, if I was to get it back, I'm not going to fight it this time. It's because it took my body through. It took my body through too much. I don't want my children to remember me like that. If it's my time, it's going to be my time. But I'm not going to fight it this time because they're going to remove half. They're going to have to remove half of my stomach. I would have to get on chemo and radiation. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I want my children to remember me as I am now. I don't want to be shriveled and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's stressful, but
like I said, I'm definitely gonna continue to pray for you, and hopefully, when you go back, because you said you're going through some tests too, right?
Yeah, I have to take my tests. I have to take tests. You have to keep taking tests because you can come out of remission anytime. So that's the crazy thing about it. Like anybody, I think that when in remission, it comes back. So I don't want. They're saying when it comes back, it come back stronger. So I'm like, well, okay, well, if it comes back, you better put me in hospice because I'm not fighting.
Well, definitely, I hope it doesn't even get to that point where it does come back. Hopefully,
but
it
you know
does not
what?
come back.
I'm to the point now though. That's why I try to live life and just enjoy the moment because nobody really knows when they're going to leave. I can't sit here and say, even if I don't get it back, I could die of something else. You never know. That's why I like to cherish life as it is. And negativity, I don't have time for. I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. I like to take pictures. I like to just love. That's what I like to do now. And I think by me getting sick taught me that. Like God he would have to knock everything from you so he can get to you. And that's what he did.
Right, that's true. And Chris, with you, going into the medical thing, with the doctors and nurses, have you experienced anything where they ignored your pain, or did you have a different situation where they actually looked out for you?
So I'm going to answer your question, but I just want to tell Red Hot that you're strong, you're beautiful, you're amazing. And just like,
thank you.
Sharing this with everybody is like, it's putting things in perspective for me. So I just, just want to send some internet love your way. And
y'all gonna make me cry. I don't have to cry.
I'm living club over here in Texas, and
thank you.
Yeah, it's not easy what you've been through. It's not easy what you're going through right now, and strong, and yes,
it's hard, and especially when you have to deal with it. But my family was just like, well, why you ain't tell me first? That's what they were stuck on. I was like, so y'all not gonna be there for me. Y'all worried about who told who first? I said, shit, I should have told nobody. I should have just died. Then what y'all would have did?
Wow.
If people go through their own thing, at their own moment, like you don't want to just tell everybody. It's a lot that goes through mentally, when something like that happens to you. You don't automatically just want to share and tell people. Sometimes you just want to do it alone. Sometimes you don't want to be a burden on other people. There's a lot that goes into it, right?
That's my mentality. That's how I am now. And so my doctor told me I have a big pride. He said, you need to put this pride to the side because you always want to do stuff on your own. And he was like, well, you need it. And so it was like he was my dad because we always going back and forth. And I'm like, look, shut up talking to me. And you just, no, it ain't like that. But yeah, it's so much stuff I've been through. I wish I could just tell y'all, but it's so much I've been through.
I'd like to say
and I feel like, and that's something that I think a lot of times when you've been through a lot of stuff on your own, it's hard to like accept like people coming at you from like their own point of view where they're like, I really want to be there for you,
right?
And
absolutely
know that you are not alone, and like people that love you and are there to stick around, they know that at first you're gonna be like, leave me alone, you know what I'm saying, and they're there for whenever you're ready to reach out. So I just you're not by yourself. You're not by yourself in AT2's channel. You're not by yourself in life, and you are strong. And
even now, I still ask why, like, why me? Why anybody with cancer? I hate that. I hate cancer. It's just why.
Yeah, Red Hot, I just want to echo what Chris said. I think you're amazing, doing amazingly, and sending love and blessings from London, because it can't be easy. But I also wanted to add, I think that it can be a kind of ancestral thing that's in our DNA, especially as Black women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Black guy, so I'm going to ask the question to you guys in a minute, but how we endure, how we carry on, how we give agency to everyone before ourselves. And I think, like you said, it was something in I think something in what you said a minute ago, that the illness has made you feel differently about life, and you're taking the moment and you're taking that, and that's so encouraging to hear, that
Yeah,
because it's about you giving that back to yourself now, because I do think
because
as as Black
that's
women
the
we kind
biggest
of
fight.
carry on.
Yeah, that's the biggest fight I ever had to have. That's the biggest fight. Fighting with your life, fighting for your life is
Yeah.
so much different. And once
Yeah.
you overcome that, you feel, I mean, it take you to another, it make you appreciate everything and everybody.
Yeah, and that's a part of your beautiful
It make you
journey
appreciate
now.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely feel prideful from my end where I don't want to ask for help or I don't want anyone to feel
Right.
sorry for me. I
Mhm.
want to figure it out on myself coming from a male perspective. And Dev, do you feel that same way?
Most definitely, because I don't want. Well, I guess I'm thinking about something else, but I don't want nobody ever said what they did for me.
Mm.
Right.
Because
Yes.
people,
Mm,
Yeah.
'cause people like to throw that in your face, like
Right.
yeah.
don't help me if you ain't really helping me, bro. You just want to tell
Right.
everybody that you help me. See, I don't like stuff like that.
So if
And
I don't ask, you ain't got to do it.
and
Yeah,
so sad, y'all, because that comes from people helping you and being like, well, I helped you later on. You know, like someone, like I feel like people have those like experiences because think about people that have helped you and how they've rubbed it in your face, like if you're in a weak moment at a later time. But I don't know. I think sometimes I feel like life is richer when you just assume the best in people. And sometimes
Right.
you shot in the foot, you know. But it is what it is, you know, and you never know. Like out of 10 people that you ask for help, if one person helps you and they really have your back and you can confide in it, and then sometimes, you know, you just have to walk over those 9 people to get to that one.
Absolutely,
I don't
yeah,
know.
absolutely, and it can be off-putting if we have, you know, we're strong people and we have asked for help before, and then they've let us down, or we have a feeling of letting down, so we're afraid to ask for help again. But like Chris
Yeah, because
says, it's like,
people show
go
you who
ahead.
they really are when you're in need. They show you their
Yeah,
true color when you need them. When they
yeah,
need you, they show you one thing, but when their true self is when you need that person that say they're gonna be there or have you the same way. So,
And
and I think,
I
Oh, hey, Chris.
this happened to me, but I felt like I was looking for people to help me from my past, like people that I've known them before. I helped them. Something
mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, are you gonna have my back now? And this is like
Right.
once I realized that, like, you know what, someone you could have given someone like a kidney and they will still throw you under the bus. I stopped like criticizing those people or just focusing on those people and really realizing that I have a lot of people that are new in my life that have been very helpful and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so to you don't know how beautiful or how ugly life can be until you put yourself out there and you try.
Right.
But I
Mm-hmm.
understand. No, there are people that have like screwed me over, and I'm like, why would you ever do that to me? But you know, that's how humans can be, sadly.
That's why I have one best friend. One. We've been friends for 13 years. And we don't talk. We stay in the same little town. I don't see her all the time.
Mhm.
But if she texts me and say, well, I need something, I'm going to send her some money. I'm going to do what I need to do. I start whatever it is for her because when I need her, she's there for me to a certain
Hmm.
extent because she have kids. I have kids. She got a life. I have a life. But at the end of the day, I've never had to question her loyalty to me ever.
right. I mean,
That's dope.
I also think about it as karma working in two ways because most people think like, all right, you f me over, so karma's gonna come get you. But it also
Right.
works in reverse too. Like you go out your way. I'm not saying you go out and you're looking, for somebody to do something for you. But when you do good by people, good things will come to you eventually. Probably
Mm-hmm.
not the way you want it to, but it eventually it still works like that as well.
But when you do stuff for people, you don't do it looking for something. You have to do it
Right.
and forget about it. Because that's when it comes. Your blessing comes like that. People be like, well, I'm going to do it because I'm going to get my blessing. Like, no, fool.
Yeah,
in fact, doing things for other people, whether it's for like your local organization, community, or helping someone else, is a known one of the known 5 things of improving your mental health. Because and if you're doing it from the pureness of your heart, you like you said, Red Hot, that you're doing it not to get something back, but you're just doing it for humanity. It has such an effect on our endorphins.
I see little stuff. I be seeing little stuff, and I be like, "Okay, God, I see you. All right."
I see it all the time on Facebook, man. Like you see when people fall out on Facebook, and then they run back and they just telling all your business, telling what they did for you, and other stuff.
That's why I don't tell them about my business.
Right, I don't tell nothing.
But sorry, AT, I wanted to answer your question, and then I wanted to kind of leverage on some stuff that we've talked about. And someone posted a comment, but it was up really quickly. So my grandmother, she has dementia, but so it's hard for her to kind of articulate a lot of things going on with her and so on and so forth.
I know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We took her to a series of different like doctors and physicians and stuff like that. And it wasn't until we took her to a Black doctor that the doctor was like, she suffers from depression. She suffers from elderly depression. And we never thought about that. Sometimes you'll go like down to her room and she'll be like crying in the middle of the night. I mean, this is someone who like, once that doctor said it, I was like, oh my gosh, my grandma barely speaks English. She lost my grandpa, who was like her, only best friend. Like, and then after that, it's like, you barely recognize your children and stuff. Of course you would be depressed. And so a lot of doctors have a hard time when Black people are in pain. Pain is not treated like how non-Black pain is treated. And I mean like physical pain. Like if I give birth to a baby and I'm like, oh, this, blah, blah, blah. Actually, one of my mentors from work, she was the only Black lady in like a senior management position when I first started working. If you're from like the Houston area, you probably have heard about her. But she had a very high profile case where she passed away a day after giving birth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
So that was like a really big story. And so a lot of things happen both with like us like saying like us acknowledging that we need help and saying like, okay, I'm going to go to these institutions and ask for help, because a lot of times it's not given. And then also having that clinician say like, okay, well, this is, I said my head hurts, I'm going to give you a Tylenol rather than like testing this person for like however severe that the condition is.
Right.
And so it's a lot. It's like getting people to ask for help. Right. And we can talk about why Black people generally don't do that. And then also getting someone to see you when you're asking for help. And if someone is minimizing your pain in whatever shape or form, it doesn't feel good. So next time you're really not going to go. And it, and I don't even think I've really processed that my mentor passed away until this conversation, because those things happen to us around us all the time.
Yeah, and we just kind of move on from it. We don't process it.
And everybody at work talking about it like, oh, it's so sad that we lost a colleague. And to me, it's like, well, it's really sad that I lost the only Black woman who really like my first day of work. She pulled me to the side and she was like, don't you even try to be my friend. We're not going to be friends. I ended up on her team. And then obviously, it worked out, but that's not like, she was like the only person I feel like gave me like really good advice. And so everyone's like, oh yeah, she passed away. But I'm like, I don't even think that they understand like the significance of her passing away, as well as like the conditions in which she passed away.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine how it must feel to not have your mentor. And also from the sounds of it, you've hit on a topic that's dear to my heart in terms of my friends, and there's lots of campaigns in the UK about it, but the how 1 in 5 Black women will have difficulties in childbirth. 1 in 5. That's so overrepresented. My friend gave birth in November, and she thought she was going to die. There was a moment she had to sign awful papers. She thought she was going to die, and she said that although the maternity nurse was, great and whatever, and she had to say to him, "Then you're not being helpful. What you're saying to me is not being helpful." But she's a strong woman in this, anyway. So I can't imagine how, how your heart must feel. Sending love.
And I just want
I
just want to say that, like, as much as and I know this happens in workplaces a lot, but no one even like came to like her memorial.
What?
Well, let me not say no one, but I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme of like blah blah blah, it was not that many people. And keep in mind that she passed away a day after having her baby. So there's a man that just had a child and a baby without a mom that are
and he's all alone with his child. It's like,
I don't need to know people in, like, if you told me about a friend of yours that happened to, I would send a gift basket. Like, I don't really feel like that's a story that, like, I need to know the characters involved to be like, oh, let me extend something. But, anyhow.
Yeah. But you know what? I always say, I don't want, if something happens to me, I don't want nobody coming to my funeral, because it's going to be a bunch of fake people there with this fake love, like they did this and did that, crying over me, and I'm not going to be able to hear and tell you to shut up. So, no, I don't want it. Celebrate me while I'm alive. It counts then. Like, because if I'm dead and you crying over my casket, I can't slap you. I can't do none of that.
That is true.
Yo, that's so real though. That's real right there.
That's fake love. People show the fakest love at a
time. That's true. And Chris, you wanted to add something else, right?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay.
And was about like pain and what I've been lucky in the sense that, like, I've never had to be hospitalized or something, but knock on wood, y'all, because I like that, you could be living your life and get hit by a car. So knock on wood, I know I'm blessed.
Right. Yeah, what I kind of wanted to end today's discussion on, because this is going to end up being like a 10-parter, but this is only part 1. But I kind of wanted to talk about the crabs in the barrel mentality, because I feel like a lot in our community, it's like, I have this and you don't have this. And there's been a lot of times where, if you don't have the nicest shoes, the nicest clothes, the nicest this, like materialistic things. And then there are things like, having a house, having this, having that. But it to me, it's always seemed that, and especially in this YouTube world too, I'm a touch on it lightly. I'll try to say it without saying too much. But I kind of feel that we're all in competition with each other, and no one really wants to help each other. Or when we help each other, it's almost like you, okay, like we were talking about earlier, like I helped you out, you owe me a favor, and it's all like, well, I don't want to ask for help because then I'm gonna have to pay you back some way, or you're gonna hold it over my head forever. So I'm gonna start with Dev first. Like, have you ever been in that kind of situation, or you feel like that?
Yeah, all the time. Like when I started my YouTube channel, luckily I did find one person, but like I'm asking, how do you do this? How do you do that? Nobody wanted to, actually explain how to go about doing anything. It's, well, I learned on my own, so you gotta learn on your own. It's like, well, this is my research. This is me asking you how you do this.
You are my resource, so that's why I'm asking you, right?
And I've been in these YouTube groups where everybody wants to say they want to subscribe, they want to help each other, but nobody's actually helping each other. Like nobody's actually watching the videos or doing anything to help each other out. I was like, bruh, we all can get monetized. We all can make money. I mean, I didn't know there was just a limited amount of money to be made, and it's just like, help me. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Like we all fighting over $5, and you we want to split it $2.50, but you want the $4 and only gonna give me $1, or actually you gonna take $4.99 and give me a penny. You know,
Yeah,
it's
like,
kind of
bro.
like that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I like stuff like that, bro. Like, chill, man. Like, I ain't your competition. I ain't trying to take from you. I'm trying to get where you at. I'm trying to be like you.
And London girl, let me go ahead and move on to you. Have you ever experienced that crab in a barrel mentality, or people not wanting to help bring you up? You know, as far as the work, it doesn't have to be YouTube, but like the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm not a creator, and I see that on YouTube that it's drama, rama, rama. I mean, seriously, I got into YouTube as a kind of Christmas hobby, watching different things, but there's so much drama here. It's really a weird place. As you know, I believe that there's enough money in the universe for everyone. We just need to concentrate on how we can, make sure the stream is coming to us. So, in terms of crabs in a barrel, I had a Buddhist practice for 20 years. So my philosophy was always
Okay.
around humanity and doing things based on, connection and compassion. So regardless of the resentment that comes up about that is still my philosophy. So yeah, often I'm in this situation of why me? Why am I always the one that's changing the paper and the photocopy? Why am I always, why aren't you helping me? Why didn't you, remember when that time when it was your birthday? In my head, obviously I don't express that, but I went through a period of asking myself, why not me? Why not me? Why not me? Why not me? And I think there are I think that with the pandemic, we're kind of in this echo chamber because we've lost human contact, we've lost going out in the world, we've lost all those social cues, and we've kind of become inverted on ourselves. And it can be really easy to just go down the negative path, but we have to fight for positivity. So my thing is I don't care. I might get resentful if you don't do something back for me because I thought you were a friend, but I'm not going to hold on to it because that says more about you than it does me.
I totally agree with that. That is right. And with you, Chris, have you experienced anything with the crab in the barrel mentality where, it could be a coworker and you think they're gonna have your back and help you up, and then no, they're your competition instead of like your acquaintance or friend,
So I'll say two things, both like outside of YouTube, and then I'll speak about like my experience as both a viewer and as a content creator. At work, I will say that at this point I probably have like maybe like 12 years of experience or something like that. What I will say is that for every person that has like stabbed me in the back, there's been other people that have been totally unexpected that have helped me. So I try not to see things as just like this one thing happened. I feel like a lot of times like the story is a lot bigger than that. It has been interesting though, because not at my current employer, but at my previous employer, I've always mentored and been a champion for a lot of like diversity and inclusion programs, and tried to, I don't want it just to be like a thing that this job has. Like I want there to be like, all kinds of people of color, Black people, championing this and et cetera, et cetera. It's always interesting sometimes when I get interns, like the black interns, not every single one. But I think there's sometimes when I give them feedback and they're like, who does she think she is telling me blah, blah, blah. And they get that same feedback because they did not want to take it in, this is like professional coaching. They get that from a white person, right? And sometimes they listen, and we can kind of go into the dynamics of that. But the thing about being an intern, it's like you have 3 months. No one has like, you're not going to get like 3 people not liking you and think you're going to get employed at the end of your internship. And sometimes I feel like, if you would have listened when I would have told you, like we could have just like kept on moving past this. So I think there's, all kinds of dynamics when it comes to that. As a YouTube content creator, my very first video, maybe like first or second one that I did, I won't say it went viral, but it got like 20K views or something. And then I got a lot of subscribers from that one video. And that video was in the spirit of my channel. It was just kind of like me talking about like a current event and trying to use that as like a teaching opportunity. And I kind of had anxiety, I don't want to say anxiety, but I was kind of like hesitant to put out another video because the people that subscribed to me from that video, that is not what my channel is about. And I'm that like, I'm not going to feel good putting out content like that. And so, you know, if the algorithm is like, oh, no one's engaging with her, that's okay. And so I think a lot of, you know, so I think there's one thing. I think that there's a group, or there are people that are here on YouTube to go where the drama is, right? And those people are not really there to like engage their content. They're almost there to be like an instigator. And I think a lot of times, but because those people do watch videos, they do engage, it's a creator to kind of be like, okay, if I'm going to be authentic to myself, honestly, nobody's going to help you, because that's just the world that we live in. People don't really, sometimes some people, most help comes from people you already have a relationship with, right? So like if I know you already and then you ask me to help you at something, I'm going to be like, yeah, but if I don't really know you and you ask me, I'm not, like, I have my own shit going on. And so I think sometimes, like, you know, trying to build a relationship with someone that you don't really have a previous relationship with, and you're in their same niche, it's competition. I mean, that's like competition and like outside of the street world, right? Like, you're not going to, if I want to sell burgers and you walk up to me, you're like, hey, I'm trying to sell burgers on the same corner, the same kind of burgers, I'm going to be like, there goes the fish store all the way over there, you know?
But I always feel like, you know, if they watch your video, they can watch my video. I never feel like I don't feel like we take away from like viewers, you know, that's one thing I don't understand.
Isn't where you are, right? Like, if you, some people, right, are like, you know, I have, like, if I had 10,000 subscribers, and I don't, but if I had 10,000 subscribers, anyone that was like, hey, can you help me? I'm going to give you the advice, because I'm telling you how to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to clone my personality and clone all of my old videos, you know, come to my comment section or whatever. But there are stingy people in this world. Like, that's the world that we live in. And sometimes, you know, maybe for whatever reason, it's on, like, it's an internal, like, I'm a stingy ass person because of XYZ things, or someone's opting just to be a terrible person. All that to say that I think the vast majority of viewers like content creators that are true to themselves and are authentic. And I do think that some of that authenticity is diminished if you are like collabing or getting like information from people. It's hard to be yourself when you've seen a lot of other people. So I really, you know, crabs in a bucket, absolutely. Do I think it's YouTube? Absolutely. Especially in like certain, like, I'm not gonna say it, but certain sectors, I think it happens. But like, if, you know, like for those sectors, people are there for the drama, they're there for the tea. Like, you're not gonna be like, people aren't gonna be extending compassion, empathy, and generosity, you know.
That's true. It kind of just comes with the territory that we're in. Like, that sector is not going to be like, oh, well, let me help you out. Let me see how I can do this or that and help you out. It's kind of like, no, this is my thing, and you kind of, you know, this is my backyard, and you in my backyard, you trespassing.
And if you, like, you know, the AT, let's say you, quote unquote, reached out to help, like, with like your polar opposite, right? And that person was like, yeah, like, I'll support you, let's cross promote, you know, blah blah blah. And then after time, you form a friendship with them. I think it's hard. I'm just saying, I think it's hard to not be like people sometimes. Like, we are human, others rub on us and we rub off on people. And you can never really foreshadow the extent that collaboration would kind of impact the people that are here for you. And so I think on YouTube sometimes it's the content creators that grow by being in their own lane and doing their own thing, blah, blah, blah. I feel like they have more like engaged supporters than people that grow their platform by collaboration. But it's also up to you and what you want and all that kind of fun
right stuff. It depends on the consumer. Before I move to Red Hot, I did want to say, Shyla, thank you for bringing that up, because also like this video probably only gonna get like 150 views, but if I was all like, you crunchy black so and so, I get thousands of views. It's very sad. But Red Hot, did you have anything to add, when it comes to the crabs in the barrel, or being in competition with someone you think supposed to be your friend, your confidant, and stuff like that?
I mean, I don't consider everybody that's in my face my friend, but I have had acquaintances like that. And I'm like, they were like, well, I got this, you don't. Okay, well, I got hair and you don't. You got a mustache and I don't. So what?
Wow.
We got something we don't like. Right. I'm just saying. That's how I am. That's how I am. So I don't care.
Whoa. That took a turn.
Okay. On that note, I'm gonna drop the link if anybody wants to come on and ask us questions. Does anybody have to go right now? I was gonna end it in like 30 minutes. Did anybody have to go right now, or you guys are good?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think 30 minutes. I went ahead and dropped down the link. Hopefully you guys can see it down there. If you guys wanted to either add anything from your experience, or if you guys wanted to come on and ask us questions. Looks at that escalated quickly.
I just wanted to say to Shiloh, because I saw her in the chat talking about, well, also I wanted to acknowledge Mina, who's been dropping loads of great knowledge in the chat. Amazing. I was just like, are you going to ring in or what? Are you going to join us? I really appreciated everything that she's dropping. So Shyla, I think she asked a question around children and educating children, and it's like, why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't that be part of the history of the world that they grow up in terms of education? And we do specific things at our workplace for parents. We have educational how to talk to your children about race. And because it is that, okay, as white people, you might feel embarrassed, but the other thing that or no, not embarrassed, that's the wrong word, you might find it difficult, or you might not know how to approach how to approach it. And so we ran different webinars on that at work. But the other thing that I would say is oh my God, I've lost my train of thought. Damn. Education at work. No, sorry. I'll come back to it. Sorry.
Okay. But no, I like how you mentioned that. I can definitely play off of that when it comes to like, how do I have a conversation? Because this isn't my first time doing something like this. But I remember I actually had Laura on the show, and we were talking about somebody had asked, like, how do you become better? Like, how do you have these conversations? Because I want to learn. And honestly, it's like being open and being able to not being afraid to mess up. And like, when you say something, if I correct you, I'm not yelling at you, or I'm not trying to be combative. It's just that I want you to learn, and I'm not actually trying to like disrespect. I'm not going to be disrespectful if you're not disrespectful. But some white people are afraid to bring up these topics because they all like, oh, you're going to get mad at me, and then you're going to hate me, and then you're going to call me a racist and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it's you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because like to get to a place of real harmonized dialogue and respecting someone else's views, you have to sit in that uncomfortableness, whoever you are. And the thing I wanted to add, I just remembered now, was about when the movement was happening, and especially in this country, what we're experiencing were a lot of white teenagers going on marches. And so I was so amazed by the movement, A, and then B, the youth of the movement and the diversity of the movement. So what we were finding were teenagers were educating their parents Do you know what I mean? Because this world, this new generation is so super inclusive, inclusive on every type of diversity. So nothing's just like, well, their questions are around why are you making someone feel other, whether it's through their gender, sexuality, or race. And so, I have hope for the future that this kind of level of education continues, but we can do it on a place where we know that we're all connected. We know that there are common themes, but I acknowledge your pain and you acknowledge mine.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's right.
And
I agree with that.
I think and I saw Sheila's question too. I feel like talking to your children about race, it's first of all, I don't have kids, so you don't have to listen to me, but I really think that it's like talking, if a parent opts not to talk to their child about sex, right? Like their friends are probably talking about it. Porn is there. So it's not that your child doesn't know about race. It's just like you want to make sure that you're having the appropriate conversations with them. And I think a lot of times humans, and especially when it comes to race, and when you are like a white person and you're acknowledging your privilege, it's almost you're afraid to be seen learning. And so you're almost like, if I cannot say these things and I don't know this and I can't answer this and blah, 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 then how do I broach the topic? And what's more important as a society is for us to at least initially broach that topic, right? And as someone, you are very sincere about like confronting your unconscious bias, et cetera, then as a non-Black person that you're coming in with a different point of view, and so you're gonna have to learn along the way. And what other great gift can you give to your child than having like an honest conversation with them about like where you may have been wrong and what you're trying to get better. All that to say that you will be extremely surprised that a lot of these children, kids, teenagers, they're having these conversations with their friends. It's not the very, very first time. And so, it's not like your child may know a lot more than, maybe even more than you know, and maybe that's dialogue that would be helpful for you as well. But I, just going forth in life, like I don't think you have to have all the answers. I think there are a lot of resources, that are out there, but just kind of having that conversation. I think it's more about like coming to your child and having the tough conversation sometimes than saying absolutely everything correctly. Right. But there are a lot of, resources out there for you to kind of have these conversations with teenagers and stuff.
Right. Now definitely there is a lot of resources. There's especially TikTok, even though I hate TikTok because of what it does to Black creators, how it shuns us and hide our content. But there's a lot of creators on there that talk about microaggressions, racism, will make you aware of subjects that that the media don't cover, like the two boys, Oren and Orson, that are missing in California City still. That stuff that's not covered by the mainstream media. So social media has been a big help. It's been a blessing in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. And there were a lot of, like, at least like in my city, for a lot of the protests, like I saw a lot of teenagers with their parents. I mean, I saw a lot of people that teens took their parents, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And somebody else, sorry, 82.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, somebody asked a question about how can I be a good ally?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
For me, being a good ally, is someone who will call out, racism, bigotry, when they see it, because I feel like a lot of times, and even for us, because Dev had mentioned like, picking and choosing your battles, and we do that a lot as Black people. We pick and choose our battles because it's all like, okay, we can't call out every situation because you'll be fighting every single day. And so sometimes you have to pick and choose which ones you want to fight. And so I feel that with our allies, and this is where privilege comes from, where it doesn't affect me, so I don't even have to worry about it. But if our allies are out there actually, when they see something or they hear something, be like, hey, that's not right. Hey, don't do that. Then I feel that that will do more than anything, just marching and stuff like that, because it really starts at the home. If you're teaching it in the home, then of course it's going to spread out. But if it's something where it's never a conversation at all, then it's gonna go nowhere,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think an ally is someone who, personally, I think an ally is someone who is not doing their work for like Black approval. Like, regardless of whether like, you're doing this so you can take it back to your own community and have those hard conversations with them so they can improve. Like, I don't feel like it's back to like the whole Trayvon Martin thing, right? Like, I remember then, if you said like Black Lives Matter, if y'all think All Lives Matter like started in 2020, you must be really, really young.
Right.
But I remember when that happened and people would be offended, like, how dare you say Black Lives Matter? And I remember, and it happened in 2022, but I just want to take it back a bit. And I remember people like now, I feel like a lot of the non-Black people that would say like Black Lives Matter, if a Black person didn't like pat them on the ass, they would be like, well, this is where these people are coming from. This is why blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so you're only saying that for like me to validate that you're not, whatever. And so I feel like ally work is done in a lot of those other communities. And you don't really need like flowers all the time. If you're doing the right thing, then you're doing the right thing. If someone recognizes you for it, fine. But
right. And I'm a firm believer in like, not just saying it, actually like meaning it. Like a lot of these companies and stuff like that, and I'm gonna show you guys a clip, but a lot of these companies be like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, but it's all like, okay, well, what are you doing in your business? Like, who's your senior management? Who's your VP? Who are the people in charge? Because more than likely they don't look like us. You know what I mean? And I want to paint this for you guys.
And I think that's what we
now we have corporations saying Black Lives Matter. We got the big signs, and that's the hash. It's not only the hashtag, it's commercial, it's on clothing. It's all over the place that Black Lives Matter. It's a fad. But what we need to do is not allow it to be a fad. We need it to be fact, because when it's fact, we get to live.
And let me, girl, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were talking.
I was just going to say, for me, allyship is a combination of, especially if we're talking about race and Black people, it's a combination of being anti-racist, doing the work yourself. I mean, I remember a lot of times when I was going through that period of sudden need for everyone to be aware and educated, I literally said one day, now, because I'd had too many questions. I had too many questions from people asking about Black stuff. And sorry, can you put Red Hot on mute just for a second? Sorry. And so in the end, I remember saying to my Black friends, it's like there's a Black Google that no white people understand exists, because, clearly on the normal Google, you can't find this information that I've managed to Google. So I was angry for a lot of the time, because I was just like, there's not a secret place where we're getting information that you're excluded from. You can educate yourself as well as me educating myself. So you have to be an anti-racist. And then in terms of active allyship, I know that as a woman, to start off with, if I'm having conversations with certain people in a workspace, you're not listening to me. So even before this movement happened, I would go to a meeting and I would bring up my points, and they would be challenged or not listened to. And then I'd go to my we call it white, pale, and male. No, male, stale, and pale in the UK, which isn't a great expression, but it's very well known in diversity and inclusion training. So I'd go to this white guy, give him all the points and say, can you bring this up? And he would get them all passed. And I just think, what? In the end, I just thought, whatever. You clearly can't listen to me. Your bias is stopping you. Since this all happened, and we had the black squares, and we had the emails to London girls saying, I really didn't see that, this was an issue before. What can I do for you? How can I help you? Great. Okay. Can you do this, and this? Well, actually, no, they can't do that, because that means that they'll have to do something. So I went through a period of realizing that people still like to say something and they don't really understand. And that's where the anti-racist has to come in, because you have to understand what's going on in the first place. So beautifully through 2020, allies emerged beautifully, and they actively did the work. So again, in meetings, I would say stuff and it wouldn't get taken up, but that a white person ensured that we had certain things in place. Although although we still had listening calls with senior management, and they would be kind of like, "Oh, really? Does that still happen? Really? In 2020, does that still happen? Really? No, you're joking. I can't believe that people can't," those are kind of questions, the kind of thing which is annoying, right? Because we're in 2020, and how the hell do you not know that this is my reality? But on hearing that,
really don't know.
On hearing that, and because they're in positions of power, they actively make the change. So I want active allies. I want people to acknowledge their privilege and know that it's more likely that some of the stuff that they say is going to get passed, and that is fine, because that ally is actually now a friend, and they want to go on the anti-racist training. They acknowledge that they want to go deeper, but we kind of all have to do a journey of doing the work. So we as Black people have to heal, and we have to work through our trauma, because we're going to be in toxic environments. So we have to know how to keep protecting ourselves. And then the allies have to be anti-racist and active. If I'm not in a meeting, I expect you to say my name.
I was just going to add to that and say what one of my white male colleagues does, which I like. It wasn't until after he did this that I was like, oh, that was kind of dope. In a meeting, he was like, you pitch in, people act like they can't hear you, then someone regurgitates your idea. He stopped and he was like, Crystal just said that. Like, when someone else tried to kind of like say what I had said, and he was like, she just said that. And I think, or even sometimes, just punting it to someone and saying, like, Bob, what do you think about this? Because when, that's back to like allies. Like, if I'm a white person, you have to understand that like white people have not been listening to Black people for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
To talk to them about it. So this is not like my name is, Chris, Black Lives Matter. I would like to do this talking point. I'm not going to do that. Like, no.
Right.
I'm not going to like run after y'all and be like, oh, well, I feel like you guys didn't stop for me, blah, blah, blah. True anti-racist allies, in that moment, you pause that conversation and you talk to your other white brothers and sisters, and you tell them this is and blah blah blah. And that is like at a very granular, what can I do tomorrow level. That's what you can do. So
right, I agree with that. Your boy Dirty is on the line. I don't even think he hear me. You hear me?
Day.
And you call me by my nickname, which I don't like it, but I'll let that slide. But you gonna come on at the last minute on the show. No, I'm just messing with you. But was there anything you wanted to add to the conversation?
I just had a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Why do y'all feel like Black people don't invest into their own neighborhoods? As far as like putting grocery stores in our neighborhoods, a Dollar General, it could be something small like a Black McDonald's or some shit like that. Or something like that.
That's a good question. No, I like that question. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, because the reason why I wanted to take that, but I do have some follow-up questions. I actually have a background in finance and economics. So is the question why Black people don't invest, or is it why do people don't invest? Because that informs my response.
Black people. Black people.
So the truth of the matter is that like wealth is accumulated over time, right? So it's not a, it's very like, so yeah, wealth is accumulated over time in some way, shape, or form. And there is not enough Black wealth in order to have something of like that scale. So I just, you know, they're different, like, so large scale organization, like let's say like Dollar General is probably owned by millions and millions of people. So that's like one thing, but can we have more like individually owned commerce in our own communities? Absolutely. I think a lot of times, a lot of us don't understand how to tap into finance. So tapping into like banks or investors, et cetera, et cetera. The startup cost of starting a business in a place where there are no businesses is higher as well. So it's more expensive for a Black person to own a Black business. And they also are likely to not have as much scale that, let's say, like a white person or a non-Black person that has opened up the same business. So there are challenges. And then I think, and this
because you have to have equity is a big thing, right?
And then this is going to sound like really just taking away the people element from it. People, because oftentimes it's not as profitable to open up a business in a place depending on its economics, right? So depending on like which neighborhood you're exactly speaking about, you know, if I have,
yeah, I'm from the hood, so
that's what I'm saying.
Like homestead type.
Yeah. And so, you know, and that's why we need to really get into politics and not just national politics. Because I feel like people think about national politics and they think about like, I need to pick a team about whether I'm going to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. And though that is, you know, your day-to-day experience is actually influenced by your local city council. They're very interesting, like equity arrangements where you can have like, it's called a PPP, public-private partnership, where you usually have an investor and the government and maybe like a representative of the neighborhood say, hey, we want this kind of business here. Code the laws so this kind of business can be profitable in our area. And so when people talk about like government failures, a lot of times it is, you know, if something is not like economics does not happen, capitalism does not happen out of the goodness of someone's heart. It's a solely financial decision. And so pushing your local government to empower the community is really what Black people need to be doing in between these 4 years that we vote. But that's you know.
I really like that. And I just wanted to add to you, boy, you dirty. I'll say it in my very British accent. Boy, you dirty. But what I just wanted to add, I don't have the same background as you, Chris, but what I wanted to add and what I noticed I'm doing intentionally for myself now as we're in the pandemic is we have a Black Pound Day once a month in the UK, and we blast Black businesses on Instagram. And I don't know, you have something similar, because I think that sometimes, you know, when I was looking at the moment, I felt overwhelmed. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? How can I help? How can I support? And then, you know, small things like that on a kind of low cost scale, it can build up, you know. So for instance, there's one Black company who just they produce their own very natural hair care products, and since we started doing Black Pound Day once a month, they've scaled their business up something like 300%.
Oh wow.
So it's being intentional about where your Black dollar goes, even if the thing doesn't exist right in front of you, but, you know, making sure that you're supporting Black businesses.
Right. I definitely agree with that. It's all about making sure that you support them, because at the end of the day, another thing of that coin, but at the end of the day, it's our job to support them and spend our dollars with them. But then I felt that the customer service end needs to be good, because I expect the same no matter where I go. I expect good customer service because sometimes you go into these businesses and I'll tell you guys one, there's this barbecue spot in the Bay Area that I go to. It's usually like young kids working in there and like the customer service is just horrendous, if I'm to keep it real. It's bad, it's horrible, it's shit, it's all that. But it's all like I like the food and I keep wanting to support, but sometimes I'm all like, I go in there and I'll be like, I don't even want to deal with it because I know what I'm gonna get. I'm not gonna get excellent customer service. It's somebody with an attitude. They either on the phone, they either playing in the back. So it's really a lot to it, and that's only a small portion. I'm not saying all Black businesses are like that, but I did want to bring that up for another perspective.
I don't want to get too far into that because that's a whole other conversation. But I've had those experiences, and I just have that dialogue. And I just say, you know what, this is a great place, but you know what would make it even better? You didn't acknowledge me when I came in, or you were chatting to so and so, and I just have those dialogues because it's like I want you to succeed, and people care about manners.
Yeah,
right. It's very important. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, consumers are more empowered than we like to think that we are, right? So we're empowered with our money and we're also empowered with our attention. And I personally, if I have an experience with like a Black business, I've told you, you're not trying to get better. That's how you want to live your life. That's just how you're going to be. It's been, whenever I've had that experience, I've found other Black owned businesses. Are they a bit more inconvenient? Absolutely. But I mean, if the food is really good, but you're rude, I'm sorry. Like there's going to be, if I've told you and you're just like, oh, well, whatever, get over it. Cause there are places like that, you're not my only option. And I think sometimes, and this doesn't go for absolutely everything, but like, I think sometimes
uniquely bronze, that's a good point.
Yeah. And that's another, I don't even, like, to me, if someone sells something and they have a price, like, that's your price. I'm not going to be familiar with you because we're, like, that's ridiculous. You're a business owner. Like, that's the cost for your time. That's that on that. But I think a lot of times, at least in my experience, especially some of the stuff that I talk about on my channel, I think a lot of times Black people, and we should probably talk about this in a different conversation, something called a personality where, Bob sells burgers and we really, really like Bob, and Bob can treat us like shit. He's not going to take on our feedback, but because we really like him or key into him or whatever, in whatever way, we want to make him change. When there's a whole row of people that are selling these burgers, maybe they're not as flashy, maybe they're, whatever, but their food is equally as good and they will appreciate you as a customer. And so I think we do have options. I do know some people that live in certain cities have more options than others, but if you make it within yourself that if I can support a Black owned business, I will. I think you will find that you have options. So.
Right. All right. Well, what I want to do is go ahead and end it right there. This has been a great conversation. And Angela, I seen your comment about the insurance would be higher in the inner cities and stuff like that. The insurance and the taxes are higher too, as far as opening up a business and especially if it's gentrified, it's definitely hard. Which gentrification, that's going to be another show. I don't even want to get into that right now. But I want to go ahead and start out on top. Chris, go ahead and give the people your information where they can find you at.
Sure. So this username that y'all see, Chris Rocks, that's my personal Instagram. So if y'all ever want to chat, that's where to find me. And I also talk about financial wellness and healing financial trauma and all of that fun stuff on my YouTube channel, which is called Fiscal Collective. So thanks for having me, AT.
Of course. And London Girl, where can the people find you at, or will you just be in the chat?
So I set up a second account, a second Instagram account called Original Dalston Girl. Original Dalston Girl, DALSTON, and that's a joke about gentrification where I live. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. I've really enjoyed the space, and I really would like to do a little series on this, because it feels like, and what I'm experiencing in work is that people are not having these spaces at all, whatever they are, and as a result of the pandemic. And it's an honor to think that I'm in this space with people on the other side of the world. How would have that happened? So AT2 brings all the positivity together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate that. And Red Hot, where can the people find you at?
Y'all know where to find me. But anyway, you can find me on Instagram. Katisha_Tucker84 on Instagram, Katisha Tucker on Facebook, Tisha Tucker on Facebook. I have 2 pages, and Red Hot Unfiltered on here. I'm trying to get all of it out because my kids really about to make me go off, and I don't want y'all to hear me get ghetto with them. So yeah, so you can find me on there. I just dropped a song for Donald Trump last night.
Which I did see.
Yeah, it's funny. I got to drop another one. But I want to say this. I want to say this to AT2. I love you. You're so positive. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to always talk positive to you and try to rise you above the negativity of the stupid people. But you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I love you.
You're headed for greatness. You're headed for greatness. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop nothing you're doing. Don't go backwards. Keep moving forward. I love you, and I'm going to always protect you. Just know I'm crazy. So if anybody go to hear with their mess, they got to get it.
Right. I love you. Thank you for always supporting me. And we always talk in the DM and everything like that.
We always talk.
Yeah, we always talk. I love you to death. Thank you for always rocking with me and supporting me.
I got to get off here, because I'm about to start cursing at my children, and I don't want your page to get demonetized.
All right, go ahead and handle your business. Thank you, Red Hot.
Stay beautiful. Thanks. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Of course. And Dev, where can the people find you at?
Well, this is the name that you see right here. That is my YouTube channel, Carpe Diem with Dev. My Instagram is Dabu05. That's DAIBU05. And my Facebook is Devron Hensley. I have a couple pages. You can add either one. I see it. But I did want to touch on one thing, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I seen a comment. It was a person said, how do they explain their white children to be proud of their skin? And I just want to tell them, like, you don't have to, just because you're proud to be white, that's not an issue. You can be proud to be white. You just don't come for me for being black. That's the only thing I can say about that. You can be proud of whatever you are. You just good. I think it was I'm not even gonna lie to you. Say who is rarely.
Oh, I think I did see that comment. No, I think what they said was, how do I tell? How does a white parent tell their black children? I thought that's what it said.
Oh, is that what it said? Oh, I thought it said the white.
Yeah, to tell their black children. Yeah, maybe their kid is half black, or maybe they're adoptive. Like how they tell their black children to love their skin. I think that's what it said. Thank you for bringing that up. I totally went over that comment. I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, but how do they tell them to love their black skin? I think it's important that they see other people, like show them images. I would say if you whoever asked that question, if you are right, I want to say make sure you show them images of black people, because you might live in and I don't want to say this, but you might live in a town where there's only white people, so all they think is that white is beautiful. Make sure you there's Facebook groups now for adoptive parents with black children, where you can get a community going as well too. So I feel like that is important. No white, and I teach white kids live their own. Oh, okay. Then I read that totally wrong.
Oh,
okay.
I thought she meant that she was a white teacher and she encouraged black children to love their skin. But how she's written it here, I'm a little backing away from this part of the chat because it's.
Okay, Deb, I apologize. You were actually right. rarely care. You don't start
I
some
want to take that.
controversy
Sorry.
beforehand.
So,
I need you to come on camera and ask that question because I
I
don't
want
even.
to say, I'm going to answer it. If you are a white parent and you adopted Black children, things that you can do, I think socializing them in Black spaces. And if you adopted a Black child, if you live in a town with all white people, I'm going to need you to find some Black people, right? Because you took on that responsibility when you adopted a Black kid. So socializing them in spaces where their Blackness is normalized. It's not something they have to code switch or whatnot, because kids sometimes aren't even aware when they're doing it. But if you're a white person and you commented, how do you make your white children proud of their skin color? I would encourage you to go to a different panel where people were not talking about their stories about being Black and go ask them that question. So my response differs on where you are, but like, to me, and I hate the word trolling, I really do, because I think sometimes it minimizes people that have like,
yeah.
But if you see all Black people on a panel and you have listened to the entire conversation and your question is, how do I make my white child proud of their skin? That's like, why? Like, go. So
I was gonna say it.
Right. I'm hoping that person said it wrong. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they said it again.
That's all.
Yeah, and thank you for acknowledging that, Chris. But I really want to just not give any more energy to that, and stay on our positive vein of love and high energy, high vibration.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right, I agree.
But I think what you said was 100% spot on. But I feel that we could go left.
You were right. I feel myself going left.
Yeah, I was kind of like in shock because I'm all like, I thought I was all like, oh no, that's not what she said. She said this,
Yeah,
and then she said it again, and I was like, oh, hold on, like
Devron clocked it.
That like, I'm looking at that, and I know that we have like different people of different races, so I feel like we're having an authentic, normal like conversation. I'm glad to be here. So you're right. I hope she wasn't trolling, and even if she was, I'm not gonna let it like derail me. And so far so good.
Right. Angela said this. I babysat free. I did what I had to do to get exposure for my kids. I straight up babysat mixed and Black kids, so my kids wouldn't only be raised around white. And Angela, can you tell us like if your kids are mixed, or you were just saying that you raised your had your white kids around Black kids? Because not that either one is wrong or anything like that. I just want to get some clarification. But if it is that you raise your white kids to be around Black children, then I commend you for that. But I don't want to misinterpret because I don't even want to go left. Boy, you dirty. I wanted. Was there anything you wanted to add to the conversation?
Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I got everything I need.
Okay. Oh wait, on a funny note, I do want you to answer this question because my sister was talking about you, right? And she was all like, "Oh yeah, blah 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 blah." You know, I'm his favorite cousin, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny because he said I'm his favorite cousin." So on my show, I want you to tell me who your favorite cousin is. Say it in my big ear.
It's Taylor. It's Taylor.
Oh.
Hold on.
Yeah, I knew he was going to get that leave the studio moment.
That was his 15 seconds of fame, right?
That's why I'm not his favorite. Doing stuff like that.
See the way he disrespected me?
Listen, not only did we see it, you've got evidence, like big evidence. Show that to Taylor.
Wow, I was totally disrespected. But I just want to say thank y'all for joining me on the show. Chris, London Girl, Dev,
I've got a quote.
That's not my favorite cousin anymore. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this panel. Also, Red Hot, I love you. Man, it was such a good show today, and I can't wait to do this again and again and again. And like I said, this is only part one. This is going to be a 10-part series because the conversation needs to keep going and going and going. Because I feel like, when there's something bad that happens, we're all like, oh, let's talk about race. And then we don't talk about it anymore. So, and the significance of this, yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. birthday. And then Monday is the actual day. A lot of people think that Monday is his birthday. No, it just happens that's the day that we celebrate it on. But it was Martin Luther King Jr. birthday on Friday. And I just think about, the I Have a Dream speech and just so many other things that he talked about. He also talked about, riots and how people feel like they don't have any, they're just getting their aggression out and they don't feel like and I'm paraphrasing, they feel like they don't have anybody's listening to them. So that's their way of speaking almost. And there's just so much more to him than just the I Have a Dream speech. And so I just really, and I just really wanted to stress that to people as well. But like I said, this is going to be definitely a 10-part conversation. And Priya, I seen your comment earlier when you mentioned that you originally didn't experience any kind of racism or prejudice or anything like that until after Black Lives Matter. So Priya, I would definitely like you to come on the show next time and be a part of the panel. But thank you guys. It's been a great show.
May I just finish with a quote and something I found out today?
Oh yes, definitely. Go
so
ahead.
I found out there's Karen Hunter runs she runs an online school, which is amazing. I can't remember the name of the professor, but I see Chris nodding, so she may have plugged into that. But a snippet that I heard today, they're on YouTube. They're incredibly rich, deep, historic. It's an amazing lesson that she's been doing. I'm on 39 now, but the professor on the show today was talking about how this holiday that you're all experiencing on Monday came to pass, and it's in a book written by Scott Heron, and it tells how Martin Luther King Jr. holiday came to pass for you all. And I was like, oh my God, okay, she's mentioned Stevie, she's mentioned Gil Scott Heron. I really need to read up on this stuff. So that's a little bit of stuff you can do, when you're eating whatever remembrance food you're eating. But a quote that I want to end with is it's from Bernice King, who I follow on Twitter, who is his daughter. And it says, we're going to achieve true peace, which includes justice. But doing so requires truth about where we are and about how we got here.
I appreciate that. That is deep right there.
I like it.
Yeah, man, what better way to end the show than there? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. And I want to say thank you to all my mods as well, especially Mina, Christine, Yvette. Thank you guys so much. It's been a great show.
That's why you're not my favorite cousin, because I'm not a moderator, man. I'm not a moderator. I don't got no words.
No, you said I'm not your favorite cousin. So
it's a family affair. It's a family affair.
I'm gonna tell you how I feel.
It's a family affair.
All right, deuces, y'all. We out. Bye everybody. Boom. Got it.